Is that it?
Is that what?
We only just met. We're gonna go look at a flat.
Problem?
We don't know a thing about each other. I don't know where we're meeting. I don't even know your name.
Hi, my name is Houston, and welcome to the Spirit of Cinema. So, you've heard of the everyman character, right? Yeah, I'm talking about the type of character that's very ordinary. So ordinary that you can identify with them in a major way. Well, today I'd like to talk to you about why that character is one of the most important things to have in any film. So, without further ado, here are 3 reasons the everyman is very important. Number 1, so relatable. Okay, so when you think about a story, you realize that as an audience member in a movie theater, you always need someone to identify with in the film that you're watching. Someone who thinks and acts in similar ways to how a normal person would.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Still not understanding? Alright, I'll put it this way. Sherlock from the BBC show by the same name takes himself very seriously about 99% of the time, right? He's arrogant, self-confident, serious, rants about murders a whole lot. Sherlock in many ways is a godlike presence in the show, a character who is so much smarter than the average person that he's almost impossible to relate to. And that's where Watson comes in. See, Sherlock and Watson are an inseparable team, and for good reason. Sherlock takes himself seriously, putting bloody heads in the fridge without pause, and Watson is there to react to this in a way that, well, in a way that we all would.
There's a head. A severed head.
Just tea for me, thanks.
No, there's a head in the fridge.
Yes?
A bloody head.
Where else was I supposed to put it? You don't mind, do you?
I firmly believe that Sherlock's TV show would be nothing if Watson didn't exist, because without a character, an everyman, to relate to in the show, viewers would be stuck watching Sherlock solve murders alone without anyone to feel connected with. So yeah, basically in every story there needs to be a character who acts the way the audience would, especially in movies involving high-concept things or serious topics. That's why Marty McFly is the main character of Back to the Future. If Doc Brown was the main character, he'd be so unrelatable and science-y that the movie would lose its heart and soul. But Marty is a character like every other teen in the 80s. He skateboards, he has a Walkman, he makes out with his mother. Number 2, explaining the complex. Movies these days, especially big tentpole blockbusters, tend to have a lot of science mumbo-jumbo and complicated storylines. And while geeks like you and me are good at understanding those things, there are a good many people out there who have no idea how to make sense of it. So that's where the everyman comes in. In the movie Inception, Cobb brings on a new member to his dream team, Ariadne, who is new to the whole concept of shared dreaming. Because of this, Cobb is able to explain the complicated plot to her, and she's able to ask the questions that the audience would ask if they were in the same situation. Useful everyman, right? Although that being said, the story's still really hard to understand.
There are people out there who said it's wobbling because the table is made of wood. But there's a white undershirt underneath there. She's never wearing the white undershirt when she's in the dream.
Anyway, Ariadne exists not only to be a good character, but also to take the complex and help make it simpler by asking questions. This can also be done in a different way. In The Martian, Rich Purnell is a quirky and out there scientist who comes up with the plan to save Mark Watney. Because he's so quirky and funny, he can put things into layman terms the audience can understand, rendering a very complicated plan into a relatively simple one. Check out how he explains the rescue mission.
In the intercept. But instead, what I'm proposing is we start accelerating immediately to preserve velocity and gain even more. We don't intercept with Earth at all, but we come close enough to get a gravity assist and adjust course. While we're doing that, we resupply with the probe,
Food and supplies.
pick up whatever provisions we need, and now we're accelerating towards Mars. You're Mars. Now, we're going too fast at this point to fall into orbit, but we can do a flyby.
Watney would intercept using the MAV.
Easy enough to understand, right? That's because he was an everyman, and he serves his purpose to explain things well.
I've done the math. Checks out.
Rich?
Yes, sir.
Get out.
Number 3, hanging a lantern on it. Movies these days are dumb. Well, most movies anyway. But generally, the stupidity of movies doesn't matter if the movie recognizes that it's stupid. It's only when a movie takes itself seriously, when it's really just dumb, that things get out of hand and it becomes laughably ridiculous.
That son of a bitch brought the war to us 2 years ago.
Like, dude, we're talking about an alien from outer space who has freeze breath and laser eyes. Can you lighten up a little bit? Sorry, we got off track. Anyway, the reason an everyman would have been good in that clip is because the idea of Superman and Batman fighting each other is just dumb. And someone needs to realize that in that movie. That's why Hawkeye is the best character in Avengers Age of Ultron. He knows this whole Ultron thing is ridiculous, and he admits that.
I just need to know because the city is flying. Okay, look, the city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow.
That's why Star Wars is so good. Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi are always going on about this dumb Force stuff, and Han Solo is there to say what most of us would say, at least at first.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
The prequels don't have a Han Solo character, and they suck. There was no character, no everyman in this scene to say, hey, that sand speech was dumb.
I don't like sand. I may have gone too far in a few places.
And so the movie took itself seriously, and it was terrible. So yeah, as I said, the everyman is a very, very necessary and helpful character to have in your movies. They can bring relatability to the story, simplify the complex, and point out when things are just plain dumb. If you're writing a film currently, like I am, you might want to consider this idea when creating characters to populate your world. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and remember to stay in the spirit of cinema.